Итак, здравствуйте все. Приветствую вас на нашем вебинаре, посвященному ESSEC Business School. Сегодня у нас представитель приемной комиссии этой школы, которая расскажет вам о всех деталях и всех прелестях этой школы. Передаю ей слово. Sarah, you're welcome. I'm giving you the voice. So good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Daria. Thank you. Welcome and good evening to you all, and thank you for attending this webinar. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Sarah Meskel. I work for ESSEC Business School here in Paris, in France, and I am in charge of admissions for the full-time MBA at ESSEC, which is called the Global MBA. So what I suggest this evening is I'm going to give you a brief overview of ESSEC Business School, a few facts and figures, and tell you a bit more about the school, its history, who we are. And then I will give a presentation of the Global MBA program, and that covers the content of the program, the admission conditions, and the type of students that we are looking to attract, as well as how we help our participants develop their career and what you can expect in terms of job opportunities, etc., etc. I would like to make this as interactive as possible, so I will give you some time to ask some questions. And if please feel free if anything is unclear or if anything that you would like to find out has not been covered, feel free to let me know. So let's start with the first slide. So ESSEC Business School has basically been around for quite a few years because it's one of the oldest business schools here in France. So if we move to the next slide, we will see that ESSEC Business School has a tradition of excellence here in Paris, but has also been developing internationally for quite a few years. So Daria, if you'd please move to the next slide. Great, thank you very much. So as I said, ESSEC Business School, a French business school with roots here in this country, but developing internationally for the past 15-20 years. The pictures you see here are the pictures of our campus in Paris to the left and in Singapore to the right. You might know that we have a campus in each of these international cities, and that you can travel. You can study at both locations as an MBA participant. So if we move to the next slide, I'm going to give you a few facts about ESSEC Business School. So as I said, ESSEC was founded over a century ago. So you can imagine that we are one of the best established universities, business schools here in France, that we have a very large network of alumni, as we have been graduating students for the past 100 years. So that gives us definitely an edge on a lot of our competitors. It also means that we're very well renowned here in France, but also in Europe, that the employers know the school very well. And actually, we've been ranked among the top 3 business schools consistently over the years here in France. And we're also the preferred school in terms of recruitment. That's our ranking. The employers have ranked us as #1 here in France for recruiting students. So if we move on, please, Daria, if you could please move to the next slide. Thank you very much. So this is ESSEC by the numbers. As I said, we have quite a few programs here at ESSEC Business School, several programs. we have over 4,000 students enrolled in our full-time programs, and we also have over 5,000 managers who take part in some of our executive part-time trainings each year. So as you can see, we've a tradition of both, welcoming full-time students, but also training managers, which means that we have very strong ties to companies as well. Another few interesting figures is the number of alumni we have worldwide. We have over 40,000 alumni worldwide, which means that we have a very, very strong network. And as a student, you would of course benefit from this network of alumni. You can also see how international we are as a school, as we have 90 nationalities represented on our different campuses. And we also have close to 150 partnerships with universities all around the world. So as a student at ESSEC Business School, you could also benefit from these exchange programs, and you could take part in an exchange program to go to another country for 3 months. If you'd please move on to the next slide, which covers basically the rankings of ESSEC Business School. As I said, we have a tradition in terms of academic excellence, and our rankings and accreditations prove that. So just a few figures here. I already mentioned the fact that we're #1 business school preferred by recruiters in France. You'll also see that our Master of Science in Management is ranked #8 worldwide by the Financial Times. Our Advanced Master in Financial Techniques was ranked #2 consistently over the past 3 years. And then we are #10 best business school in Europe. So that's just a few figures. We also have all the accreditations that you might be familiar with. EQUIS, which is a European accreditation, and ASCSB, which is the American equivalent. So all in all, a very well-renowned and well-established business school here in Europe. So if we move on, I am going to now tell you a bit more about the international aspect of our school, how international we are, and what we've done in the past few years to become even more international. So as I already mentioned, our MBA program welcomes quite a few students each year, and 90% of those students are international. Quite a wide variety of countries are represented. I haven't listed them all, but basically we have quite a few people from Europe, and then we have a large proportion of students from Asia also, quite a few from the Americas, both North America, Canada, the US, and also Latin America. Of course, our campuses are bilingual, meaning that all our programs are delivered in English and French. So it's possible, of course, to do your education fully through English while also learning French. As an international student, you have the possibility to learn French, of course. And I mentioned as well the partnerships that we have and the exchange programs we have with leading universities worldwide. Just to name a few: Kellogg, Berkeley, Chicago Booth,
Друзья, сейчас мы созваниваемся со спикером. Через минуточку все наладится.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sarah, we hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry, I'm sorry about this. I don't know exactly what's happening. Can you see me or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see me now? Can you confirm that you can hear and see me?
Yes, Sarah, we see you and hear you, and we're typing there.
Sorry, say that again? So Daria, can we maybe can we maybe go to the next slide? I'm not quite
Everything's fine. We hear you.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
so
of
can
course.
Yeah, we'll go to the next slide, and maybe I'll start again with presenting the different MBA programs. Maybe that's where I was interrupted. Okay, so as I just said, we have 4 MBA programs at ESSEC Business School, a portfolio of 4 different programs. The only part-time program is the Executive MBA, which is in partnership with Mannheim Business School. So ESSEC and Mannheim have this executive program. And this is mainly for, even exclusively for people who hold at least 10 to 15 years work experience. So these are people who already have senior positions in companies. So, you know, again, I'm not going to be presenting this program today, but if you do have any questions, I'd be quite happy to answer them. We also have 3 full-time MBA programs. 2 are specialized, one in the field of luxury and the other one in the field of hospitality. So these programs are, again, exclusively for people who are interested in working in these very specific industries. Now, the 4th program, and the one that we're going to talk about mainly today, is the Global MBA, which is the general full-time MBA program here at ESSEC Business School, which was launched 3 years ago, and which has been designed basically to help young professionals develop their career at an international level. So this program is really for people who are interested in bringing their careers to an international level, people who are already in international roles, or people who are interested in either working abroad or maybe working for international companies or gaining some international exposure. So if we move to the next slide, basically it's just a quote that we have to help you better understand why we launched this program and how we designed it. And basically the idea is that when we work with our partners, when we work with different companies, and we ask them what challenges they face as businesses, they all say that the main challenge is to be able to live up to the globalization, meaning that they all work at a global level, be it the multinationals or even the small, middle-sized companies or even some family businesses. And the challenges they have is that they work with different markets, so they might be selling their products to different markets, they might be manufacturing their products in different locations, and of course they need to gain knowledge of the different markets that they're addressing. And they need to hire managers and people who have that awareness, who have that cultural awareness, who have that international exposure, who are capable, should I say, of doing business both in Asia and in Europe and in the Middle East. And so what we try to do with this MBA is give our participants that international exposure. So let's move on to the presentation itself of the MBA. So who has this MBA been designed for? As I just mentioned, we're looking at professionals, people who hold at least 3-4 years work experience after their undergraduate degree. So the age bracket would be 26, 27 years old to 36. I mean, this is not, again, exclusive, but that's just to give you a general idea of the population that we welcome. And we're looking at two types of profiles, I would say. Either professionals who wish to enhance their career, that means bring their career to a next level, next step, or people who are switching careers. So typically, we could be looking at somebody who has an engineering background and is currently working in a technical role, and who wants to move into a more strategic role or something that's related to business development or even consulting. Okay, so that's an idea. And then the final requirement we have to be eligible for this MBA is that you hold at least a bachelor's degree as an undergraduate degree. So two requirements: the educational background, you need to have a bachelor, and the work experience, you need to have at least 3 to 4 years full-time work experience. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, which is basically the program itself, the program at a glance. This global MBA is a 12-month program. We only have one intake each year. That is a September intake. So we have just welcomed a new batch of global MBA students 2 weeks ago, mid-September, and they will be with us until September 2014. And once they graduate, we will welcome a new batch. So basically, if you are interested in the global MBA, the next intake you could be looking at is September 2014. As I mentioned already, this program takes place in different locations. Part of it takes place here in Paris, where we have our main campus. And then the students spend 2 months on our Singapore campus in the winter term. And they also get to spend time in 2 other locations. So the reason why those 2 other locations are not specified is because they change each year. How does this happen? We have one location which is linked to the study trip that we organize. Each year we organize a study trip, and we bring the students to that country to spend some time, to meet some companies, to better understand the challenges that country faces in terms of economy and how the market is different. And then the other location is the country that you will be visiting as a consultant working for a company, because we have a consulting project which is inbuilt in this program. And when you take part in this consulting project, the company you're working for sends you to another location. So that means that you would spend time in 4 different countries over the course of the 12 months. As I said, the language requirement for the program is English. This program is fully taught in English. And the class size, this is something I would like to emphasize. It's a small class, meaning that we welcome no more than 40 participants each year. That's the maximum. Why do we do that? Because we believe in the value of having a small learning community. It means that you have better access to professors, to staff. It means that we are able to help you be more attentive to your individual needs and accompany you during the 12 months in terms of the career services that we provide. And it also means that in terms of the learning environment, it's much more dynamic, because you're in a class with 40 students, and it's much more interactive. It's not like sitting in a classroom with several hundred people. And so I think that's one of the advantages of this MBA program, is that we really try to tailor the program and accompany each individual in the class. So just coming back to the content of the program, basically we focus on international exposure, on the fundamental courses of business. So of course this MBA program will give you all the knowledge you require in finance, in strategy, in marketing, and all the fundamentals. But you will also gain some experiential learning, which is basically hands-on experience by traveling to different countries and by working on a consulting project toward the end of the year. So I'd just like to stop here and ask if there are any questions at this stage of the presentation. Okay, it seems I don't see any questions coming up, so I'll maybe move on and on to the next slide, if you please, Daria. Okay, so this is the actual curriculum of the program. So as I said, it's 12 months, it's full-time, and we start in September. So how does it happen? The students arrive on our campus here in Paris during September, mid-September, and we have 2 weeks of integration. So the purpose of this integration is for the students to get to know each other, because of course you can imagine that people come from all around the world. So we have over 15 to 20 nationalities represented in the program. So the idea is for you to spend the first 2 weeks together and get to know each other, as you will be doing a lot of teamwork during the year. So we organize different workshops during those 2 weeks, focusing on team building, on leadership, and we will also take you to a military camp during 3 days, where you will be working again on teamwork and on leadership, and basically getting to know more about yourself as a leader, and getting to know more about others as well. So this is a key, I would say, time in the program, because these first 2 weeks are really there to build, I would say, strong ties amongst the different participants. So then in October the classes start, and we have divided the year into different terms. So term 1 takes place between October and December, and you will have mandatory core courses, basically the courses that I mentioned earlier on, so finance, marketing, accounting, economics, strategy, so different mandatory core courses, and those courses take place here in Paris. Then in the second term, from January to March, this is where you will be going to Singapore, where you will be taking some more mandatory courses. However, the courses that are given in Singapore are more related to Asia and to Asian business. So for example, you can take some courses that cover how to negotiate a business deal in China, or you could be taking courses that cover the geopolitics in Asia. So basically the courses in Singapore are more related to Asian business. Then in the third term, you will be returning to Paris, where you will have several things taking place. So you have a few more mandatory courses, but you also have the elective courses that you can choose from a wide catalog. This is basically the opportunity for you to specialize in certain fields. So if you're interested in a career, for example, in finance, this is the opportunity for you to take a maximum of finance courses. During this term, which runs until June, you will also do a field trip. I mentioned earlier on, there is a field trip organized each year. This year we will be bringing the students to South Africa, and during that field trip they will visit a certain amount of companies. They will also get to meet some of our alumni who are based in South Africa, and they will have a few conferences organized with one of our partner schools as well in South Africa. And then you have the summer period, which is basically a very important one, because this is when you work on the consulting project. So this is basically your opportunity to apply everything that you have learned during the course of the year to a real case, because you will be in groups, divided into groups, and you will be assigned a project working for different partners all around the world. So to give you a few examples, in the past we have had projects in Egypt, we have had projects in India, in China, in Venezuela, in Bolivia. So the idea is, again, is to put you in a situation where you're going to be confronted to a business situation that you're not necessarily familiar with, and you are going to have to find solutions and make recommendations to the company. So just to give you a concrete example, we did a few years ago a project for Total, which is the major oil and gas multinational headquartered here in France. And they gave us a project in Venezuela where they wanted a group of students to work on a market study as they were launching their lubricant business in Venezuela. And so they sent a group of 5 of our MBA students to Venezuela over the summer, and that group had to do a very thorough market analysis for Total and come back and present it to them. So I think this is a really important part of the program, because it really gives you hands-on experience, and it enables you as well to, you know, keep in contact with the business world, with companies, and have those regular interactions. And so at the end of this international immersion project, you will return in September to Paris for the final few weeks, which is called the Capstone Seminar, which is basically a series of workshops, and you will be presenting as well your final project before graduation. So that is basically the overview of the 12 months spent here at ESSEC. As you can see, it's a very intense year. There are a lot of things involved, but I think, you know, that's what makes it a very exciting program as well, is that there's a very good balance between the academic part, the international experience, and also the regular interactions with companies and the hands-on experience. So let's move on to the next slide, which is basically just a summary of what I have said about the international focus of the program. Again, as I said, this program is really designed for people who want to bring their career to an international level. And all in all, you spend close to 4 months abroad, outside of France, that is. So you're already, you know, in France. That's already abroad for most of the participants, because not that many participants are actually French in this program. Most of them are international. But on top of France, you also have time spent in Singapore, as I mentioned, time spent in another country during the international immersion project, the field trip, which is going to be South Africa this year, and the possibility as well to take part in an exchange program. So I see that there might be some questions at the moment, so please feel free to let me know. I might stop here, just pause for a minute and answer your questions. Yes, so regarding the question, I will read the question for you just so that you can all have access to the information. The question is regarding Singapore and the 2 other locations, wondering if it's mandatory. So yes, the answer is yes, it is mandatory, because this is really part of the program. And again, the idea is that we want to expose you to different markets, and we want to give you a maximum of international exposure. So yes, Singapore is completely mandatory, as well as the 2 other locations. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. So let's move on to the next part, which is the career services. And I think this is a very important part for all MBA prospects, people who are looking at pursuing an MBA, because as I said, when you do that, it's usually because you are at a crossroads in your career, and you're interested in either enhancing your career or maybe switching your career. So it's very important when you're selecting business schools and MBA programs to understand how those programs, how those schools are going to help you reach your career goals. So basically, we at ESSEC Business School have dedicated career services to the MBA programs, meaning that we have experts, we have professionals who work full-time here with the MBA participants to accompany them during the year and help them, I would say, reach several milestones in order to give them, as much possibility, as much opportunities as possible to reach the goals they're looking at. So basically, how do we do that? We organize different events throughout the year, and we're going to look at these individually. The first one is you will have access to personalized career coaching, meaning that you have an advisor, a career advisor here at ESSEC Business School, who is in charge of coaching the participants during the year. And this is a resource that you can access very regularly, because this person here is full-time, and she's there to help you on a one-to-one basis. It can be several times during the week. It's up to you to decide how you take advantage, I would say, of the resources that are available. But that's the first thing. We offer career coaching. Then we also have a mentoring program which we put in place. So each participant in the Global MBA program is assigned a mentor for the duration of the year. And these mentors are part of our alumni. They are graduates from ESSEC Business School, and they are working in different industries. And so basically what we do is we match each participant with a mentor, and we try to take into consideration the interests, where you would like to work in terms of location, in terms of sector. And so that person is going to offer advice and meet you during the course of the year. Again, it's your responsibility, I would say, to invest in this relationship. But it's a great opportunity. Having a mentor is a great opportunity to access the ESSEC network, because as I said, these people are former students, they're graduates of the school. So I think it's a very important thing to be able to avail of this network. We also organize regular interactions with companies, either through networking sessions, job fairs that are organized on campus each year, and company visits that are done in small groups. So as you can see from the pictures here on the slide, we have regular company visits. Just to name a few of the companies we visited in the past years: Accenture in the IT consulting industry, McKinsey in the strategy consulting industry, GDF Suez in the energy sector, L'Oreal in the fast-moving consumer goods sector, and many more. But that's just to give you an idea of the company visits we organize. I've also listed a few of the companies that we interact with regularly, and these people, these are companies where we have contacts either through our alumni network, either through links with the professors. So again, you can see that a lot of these are multinationals. But we also work with smaller companies. Again, I think it's important to have in mind that ESSEC, being a very well-established school in France and a quite old school as well in terms of the number of years we've been around, we do have a very wide range of partners that we work with. So if we move on to the the admission and the application details. So I think this is a very important part as well. As MBA aspirants, you will all be interested in knowing how to apply to our MBA program and what we are looking at in terms of admissions. So some of you might already be familiar with this, but I'll just go quickly over it. Basically, all our applications are done online. So you go to the ESSEC website and you look up the Global MBA page. And you can start your application whenever you feel ready. Just for your information, there is no application fee. That means that you can start an application, get familiar with the process, what we are looking for, and you can go back and work on your application whenever you have time, whenever you want to dedicate yourself to that. And then you submit it only when you're ready to submit all the documents and go forward with it. So what do we require? We require 6 essays, so there are different essay questions in the online application. These questions are all very general, but the idea is to give you the opportunity to express, why you want to pursue an MBA, what type of career goals you have set for yourself, what type of person you are. It's basically an opportunity to tell you a bit more about yourself and what we should know about you. So I see that a question has come in regarding the GRE. I'll come to this, but the answer is yes, we do accept GRE. As you see here, we require a GMAT score, but that can also be GRE. That's something I actually didn't put in my presentation, but yes, we do accept GRE. So back to the other documents we require. So of course a professional resume, that's pretty standard. All the transcripts of grades, the copy of your degrees, that as well is very, very, I would say, standard, sorry. And then we also require 3 letters of professional recommendation. So as far as recommendations are concerned, the advice I'd give you is to think it over. Who do you want to ask for recommendation letters? And I think the most important thing is that you ask people who know you well enough in a professional environment. We don't accept academic recommendations, so you cannot ask a professor from your university, from your former university. So please ask either your supervisors or your clients, or maybe some of your colleagues that have worked with you on a project. Or the important thing is that these people know you well enough to tell us, about your strengths, about your weaknesses, about what type of person you are in a team, etc., etc. And then finally, we have a TOEFL requirement, or IELTS, so an English language test, unless you have studied or lived or worked in an English-speaking country. If that is the case, we can waive the TOEFL. If not, if you have never studied or worked or lived outside of Russia, for example, you will need to take the TOEFL. The GMAT score we already discussed, so either a GMAT or a GRE score. And then finally, when you have provided all these documents, your file will be reviewed by the admissions committee. And if your file is selected, we will invite you to an interview. The interview takes place either here in Paris, if you want to do it face-to-face, or else we organize Skype interviews, a video conference. So it's very easy. We won't require that you come to Paris for your interview. And so the final deadline for applications for this year is May 31st, 2014. So after that date, we will not be taking any more applications for September 2014. So if I move on to the class profile, this is probably something you'll be interested in as well, that I already maybe mentioned, but briefly go over this again. Basically, we have, as I mentioned, about 15 to 20 nationalities represented. Could you please move on just to the next slide? Sorry, Daria. Yeah, so that's it. The nationalities represented, as I said, we have between 15 and 20 nationalities represented each year. So for this year, for the 2013 class that has just started, these are the countries that I listed where we have welcomed people. So the USA, Colombia, Mexico, France, Germany, the UK, Slovenia, Mauritius, Egypt, China, South Korea, India, and Japan. This year, unfortunately, we have no Russian participants. We did last year have Russian participants, so we're hoping that in September 2014, again, we will be welcoming some more Russian participants. The average age is 30. The average work experience is 6.3 years, and the gender diversity, as you can see, is quite good. It's not perfect yet, but it's 40% women, 60% men. That's our gender. And if you look at the industries represented, we have people who have worked in banking and finance, people who have worked in FMCG, people who have worked in the real estate industry, in automotive, engineering, hospitality, entertainment, consulting. So again, it's a very diverse class, and that's what we're always aiming at, because we believe, again, that, you know, with the diversity, it's going to be a very challenging environment for all of you, and as much from your peers then you will be learning from the professors, and so it's important to have people from different backgrounds. So I think that's pretty much it for the class profile. One last thing I would like to cover is the funding, because I know that this is a quite important part for a lot of you, how to fund my MBA. So if we move to the next slide, we'll see that we have different scholarships available. So before I forget, of course, I didn't mention the tuition. The tuition fee for this global MBA program is 45,000 euros. And it includes all the international travel I mentioned. So when you go to Singapore, when you go to South Africa, let's say on your field trip, and when you spend the summer abroad for the consulting project, all this travel is included in the 45,000 euro. How to fund your MBA? What I would recommend as regards funding is to start very early in the process. When you're starting to apply to schools, start looking at how you can fund your MBA. You have to diversify your sources of funding, because nobody has, very few people, should I say, have 45,000 euros available just like that. So you should be looking at bank loans, you should be looking at the scholarships available, you should be looking as well at the different scholarship schemes that are available through companies. You know, some companies have scholarships. And you should also get in contact with the embassy of the country where you're going to be studying. So if you decide to pursue your MBA in France, I would recommend that you very quickly get in contact with the French embassy in your country, and get in touch with Campus France, which is the organization within the French embassy in charge of promoting higher education in France. And those people will be able to help you to apply to different scholarships and find some funding. And they will also help you with your visa application. So as far as ESSEC Business School is concerned, we have different scholarships, as I mentioned. All our scholarships are merit-based. So how does it work? You apply to the MBA program. If you're admitted to the Global MBA, your file will go to the scholarship committee. So once you're admitted, you become automatically eligible for a scholarship. And so the scholarship committee reviews all your file and decides to award you a scholarship or not, depending on the overall quality. So for example, I listed a few scholarships that we have. We have some specific excellence scholarships, which take into consideration your undergraduate degree, your GPA, your GMAT score. Then we have diversity scholarships. We have some scholarships for women, for example. We have specific scholarships for women. We have some specific scholarships for nationalities, different countries. We have scholarships for entrepreneurs, people who've already set up a company. And then we also have some scholarships for people who have held leadership positions. So people, for example, who have managed a team working in an emerging market. Okay, So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the tuition and the funding. I see that I have a question regarding the luxury MBA. So sure, I can tell you a bit more about the luxury program. It's quite similar to the global MBA in terms of the duration and in terms of the profiles that we welcome. So it's also a 12-month program. It also starts in September of each year. The average age is also 30, 31. We also have about 15 to 20 nationalities. And we also require, we have the same requirements. So we require a GMAT score, we require at least 3 to 4 years work experience. What else? We have a certain amount of field trips organized as well in the luxury MBA. So for example, the students travel to Italy to go and study the luxury brands in Italy. They also travel to Hong Kong or Dubai as well. So it's a very international program. I would say that the main difference with the global MBA is that it really focuses on a specific industry. So you should be looking at applying to the MBA in luxury brand management if and only if you really want to shift your career towards that industry. It means that you really need to be sure that you're going to be working in the field of luxury for the next 15, 20 years, because it means that all your network will be developed in that industry. It really focuses on luxury industry. So I hope that's answered your question. So you know, that's about it, I think, for me. I hope I've been able to give you a pretty thorough overview of ESSEC Business School and of its MBA, its general MBA program, the global MBA. If you have any other questions, I'll still be here for a few minutes, so I'm more than happy to answer those. And if not, you can always take time to contact me after this webinar. You'll find my email address on the website. So please feel free to send me an email if there's anything I can help you with. Okay, so I see that I have a question again regarding the luxury MBA, regarding a presentation. So what I would encourage you to do for the luxury MBA is look at the website. They have listed the different information sessions that they organize, as well as the master classes that are organized, and see if there might be some of those sessions organized in Russia. If it's not the case, you can also contact the admissions team of the luxury program, and they will help you and answer any questions you might have. I think the best person to contact is actually Mrs. Leduc. You'll find her contact details on the website also. She's in charge of admissions for that program, and she will be able to tell you how to meet them. I think there should be an open day organized as well here in Paris in early February. So if you happen to travel to Paris, you could come and visit the campus and meet the professors and students from these different programs. And each program will have an information session on that day, so the luxury MBA included. So I hope you'll find, you know, a slot where you'll be able to interact with our team from the luxury MBA. And the last thing you should maybe do is reach out to our ambassadors, because we have some current students who are in charge of answering questions for each of our programs. And the Luxury MBA has some ambassadors as well. And so I would encourage you to get in contact with them regarding any questions about student life, about their experience here at ESSEC. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so there's a question regarding the advantages of studying at ESSEC rather than other French business schools. So this is somebody who would like to study in France, and so for example, how do we compare to schools like HEC or INSEAD? Okay, so that's actually an interesting question, and what I'd like to say in that regard is I think the main difference you're going to find is in terms of the culture of the school. Because if you look at schools like ESSEC Business School, like HEC, like INSEAD, I mean, we're all very good business schools in terms of rankings, accreditations, you know, we've a very good reputation. These are the top 3 schools in France. And so, you know, in terms of the academic excellence, I mean, I'm sure you'll find pretty similar, I would say, courses and professors at these 3 schools. However, I think where we're slightly different is in our approach and in the culture of the school. And as I mentioned earlier on, one main difference we have here at ESSEC is that we don't treat, I mean, as far as our MBA programs are concerned, we do not believe in mass education. And that's one of the main differences with, for example, HEC and INSEAD, is that we only welcome small classes for our MBA programs because we don't want to have people sitting together, you know, with several hundred other people. We think that as an MBA student, you're entitled to a more individual approach, to something that is more tailored, because we feel that for most of you, you're going to be facing challenges in terms of career, in terms of developing your career, in terms of maybe switching your career. And we feel that we can only accompany you properly if we have that individual approach. So for all our MBA programs, be it the Global MBA, be it the MBA in Luxury Brand Management or the MBA in Hospitality Management, we have limited our classes to 40 people. But again, you know, it's plenty in terms of networking, because when you think about it, it means that we have 120 MBA students on campus and that we organize a lot of things in common. So for example, some of the courses that we organize here in Paris are in common for both the Global MBA and the Luxury MBA. So for example, you know, the finance courses, the accounting courses, they're mixed together. And so I think it's really great because you have that diversity. Some classes you'll have, you know, classes where you have 70 or 80 people, but then in other classes you'll be in a smaller group. And so I think it's a very good balance between, you know, enough, I would say, in terms of numbers and diversity to have good networking opportunities, but also the small size, which sometimes enables you to have better interactions with the professors and, you know, feel more part, I would say, of a family. And I think ESSEC, just to sum up, really has that that more individual approach. We treat our students as individuals, and I think that's really something that's important to us. And so there's one last question regarding the Luxury MBA, and that is, would I recommend starting the MBA in Luxury without prior experience in the luxury sector? Yes, that is no problem whatsoever. Actually, that's interesting, because most of the participants who enroll in the Luxury MBA are people who don't have previous work experience in luxury. I'd say about 60%, 60 to 70% of the students in that program do not have previous experience in luxury. And then the remaining 30 to 40% do. So it's not an issue. I mean, you can, of course, be admitted to that program without having worked in luxury. However, you really need to define your project very specifically to convince the admissions team that, you know, that you will be able to find a job in that sector, that the skills that you have developed will be transferred to the luxury sector. And finally, that you have a very strong interest and a very good knowledge of the luxury industry. That's another good question. Are men welcomed in this program rather than women? Yes, because I mentioned the gender diversity in the global MBA. It's true that in the MBA in luxury brand management, we don't have a very good gender balance, meaning that the majority of participants in the luxury MBA are women. I would say 80 to 85% of the participants are women. So we're actually, of course, very eager to welcome more men in this program. But you know, I think it's just a question of maybe it's an industry that attracts more women than it does men. So there's there's no limit. You can of course apply if you're a man. Okay. So I think, I don't know if there are any other questions coming up. I see that somebody is still typing.
Sarah, I would like to thank you from our side too. Thank you very much for your presentation and the webinar itself. I'm sure we'll have if any question arises, I will send everything to you so that you could answer and get in contact with our participants.
Okay,
and once
that's
again,
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Be in touch.
Yeah, sorry about the technical issues, and thanks for everything, and feel free to send out my contact details to the participants.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your help, Daria. Thank you for everything. Have a nice evening.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Same to you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.